Hello everyone, welcome back here. I'm back here again. I have my new gray sweater on and I'm back here with my mini on language learning. Now I did see, watch, and tell. See, watch, and look, teach and tell. And I also did, what else did I do? I did look, see, watch, teach and tell, and also go and come, which I just completed. Sorry for the delay on that. Next on the mini, I'd like to work on two words, listen and hear, that can pose problems. They pose problems because they have very similar meanings, if not the same meaning, but they are used in different ways. So when I use listen, listen is also often used with to, so listen to and hear, okay? Now, the first basic one for listen is a planned action. So I'm listening to music, or I'm listening to a speech on television. That's a planned action as you're paying attention and you're listening to it. Whereas hear doesn't necessarily mean there's a planned action, but it kind of enters your ear in a way. Like, for example, I can hear a dog barking outside, or I hear a police siren over this direction. So it kind of enters your ear and you're able to hear that. Now, if it's possible that you can listen to, or you can, depending on the volume. So I may say, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is my voice loud enough? In that case, you'll say, can you hear me? And you will not use listen to in that sense. So can you hear me? Did you hear what I said? Were you paying attention in that regard? Did you hear what I said? So on the differences of listen to, and hear. So if you get information from somebody else and you see that person, you say, oh, I heard you're being transferred to Osaka. So from somebody told me that, not taught me that, in that case, told. So I heard you're moving to Osaka, you were transferred, use here in that situation. So when you report or things that you got that information, you use here. So I heard that store is closing, I read it in the newspaper. Even though I didn't hear it, I read the newspaper, you say I heard. Listen to is more of a planned action. Now when I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying, I'll say listen carefully, and that person should pay more attention to what's going to be said after that. So listen carefully. And hear in that sense will kind of enter the ear, but not necessarily a planned action. So. Did you hear that the game was canceled last night? Did you get that information? So now one more with here I want to work on is using it in the present perfect form, heard. So have you ever heard of? So have you ever heard of a city called Maizuru in Kyoto Prefecture, for example? Have you ever heard of? Now that's going to be a little bit more used in that than do you know? Like, do you know this place? More, have you ever heard of this place? That's one more important thing to pay attention to, because have you ever heard of? So do you know Latin music? Maybe a better situation would be, have you ever heard of Latin music? Or have you ever heard Latin music before? Or maybe if you paid attention to it, have you ever listened to Latin music as a planned action? Okay. Just a couple more things on here. Now, when you're not part of that group, but that group is talking and you can, pick up what they're saying, that you use the word overhear. So I overheard the next table, and there will be a demonstration next week sometime, for example. So it enters the ear, but you didn't plan to, but you picked it up. I overheard. Okay. And one more word I'm going to throw in here is the word. You hear people talking, and you kind of want to know what they're saying. So you kind of lean in, put your ear closer. That is a totally different word. It's called eavesdrop. And I'm going to give that word to you as well, eavesdrop. So I eavesdropped on their conversation, but I know I shouldn't have. And that's a totally different word, eavesdrop. Okay, everybody? So we'll work on listen to when you plan to do that. And here, it may enter the ear, but it was not a planned action. And overhear, again, you didn't plan on hearing that, but it was loud enough where you heard that and you understood what they were saying. And to do it intentionally, which may not be a good thing, but the word is eavesdrop. Okay, everyone? Hope you're good here. If you got any questions, the comments are below, the likes below, the subscribes below. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll be back again soon. Have a great day.